My name is Alice Badreau. I'm an associate professor in international relations and the environment at the University of Vienna's Department of Political Science. My main field of expertise is global environmental politics, with a specific emphasis on the oceans, on science policy interfaces, and international negotiations. This video focuses on ocean protection as a new field within global environmental politics and the study thereof. You will learn about why ocean protection is political, how legal factors shape the negotiation of treaties and conflicts between states on how to protect the ocean and establish a sustainable framework for its future. You will understand why we need political science perspectives on ocean protection, why it's not just a matter to understand the natural science factors that shape ocean degradation, but why it's also important to look at this from a critical political science perspective and why understanding conflicts between states in those areas matters. Ocean protection is high on the political agenda and an emerging field within international relations and political science. It covers activities in two types of area, within and beyond national jurisdiction. It seeks to reduce serious pressures on the marine environment, such as from overfishing, climate change, and pollution. Protecting the marine environment and its living and non-living resources is challenged by multiple factors: increased economic interests, institutional fragmentation, and political conflicts and contestation. The urgency to set up new international environmental regulations for the ocean is greater than ever. Human activities in the ocean are rapidly expanding, including deep water fisheries, deep seabed mining, and deep water oil and gas drilling, which may cause tremendous harm to marine ecosystems in the future. The expansion of extractive industries and the rapid degradation of marine ecosystems put pressure on states to negotiate new international rules and agreements. The emerging landscape of ocean protection treaties can be considered a new frontier in global environmental politics and the study thereof. From a legal perspective, ocean protection is a common concern of humankind. Article 192 of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, establishes an obligation on states to protect and preserve the marine environment. UNCLOS was adopted by states in 1982 and lays down a comprehensive regime of law and order in the world oceans and seas, establishing rules governing all uses of the oceans and their resources. Its legal framework is complemented by treaties regulating sectoral aspects such as the agreement relating to the conservation and management of straddling fish stocks and highly migratory fish stocks, or the various conventions under the International Maritime Organization on matters relating to navigation and shipping for safety, vessel source pollution, and maritime security purposes. Within the existing landscape of international agreements, the conservation and sustainable use of marine biodiversity is a particular case. Existing agreements regulating marine biodiversity in national waters, such as the Convention on Biological Diversity, the CBD, lack a mandate for international waters. In turn, intergovernmental organizations that are mandated to regulate activities in areas beyond national jurisdiction lack instruments covering all aspects of marine biodiversity, from ecosystems, species, to the genetic aspects. To fill those legal gaps, states have adopted a new treaty regulating biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction, which started in 2023. The so-called BBNJ Treaty covers 4 so-called package elements: marine genetic resources, area-based management tools, including marine protected areas, so-called MPAs, environmental impact assessments, and capacity building and the transfer of marine technology. BBNJ belongs to the Global Commons, which designate a particular class of international problem where resources that do not fall under sovereign national jurisdiction are at stake. The zonal approach of UNCLOS divides the ocean into territorial seas that coastal states may claim up to 12 nautical miles, exclusive economic zones that coastal states may create up to 200 nautical miles, and the high seas, which lay beyond territorial waters and the EEZs, and which cover about 60% of the ocean. Different principles apply to different maritime zones. International waters are regulated by the freedom of the high seas principle, which grants rights both to coastal and landlocked states. This goes back to Hugo Grotius' eminent Mare Liberum from 1609, which states that high seas cannot be owned by any person or nation and should be free for anyone to use and exploit. This doctrine was especially relevant for navigation and favored the interests of maritime powers wishing to keep shipping routes apart from a narrow band of water adjacent to the coast open. However, the expansion of territorial, military, and economic interests of coastal states, especially after World War II, extended the territories that they claimed their own. Governments started to codify a fixed limit for the belt of coastal waters, resulting in the UNCLOS 12 nautical mile rule for territorial waters and 200 nautical mile rule for EEZs. Under UNCLOS, the FOS, the freedom of the high seas, implies both coastal and landlocked states can enjoy, amongst others, the freedom of shipping, fishing, and marine scientific research. There is one notable exception: the seabed and ocean floor and subsoil thereof beyond the limits of national jurisdiction, the so-called area and its resources, are the common heritage of mankind. This implies that deep seabed mining in the area is regulated by an international authority governing the area on behalf of common and future generations. The International Seabed Authority, established in 1994. The application of different principles, norms, and legal systems to different maritime zones and marine resources is a challenge for the protection of the ocean. It creates multiple conflicts between states regarding access to and ownership of global commons. From a political science perspective, those conflicts can be studied, for instance, by focusing on the sites where states negotiate international environmental law and regulations. To broaden our understanding of global environmental negotiations, we use the term agreement making, which we define as the multiple actors, sites, and processes through which environmental agreements are made, and the new sets and arrangement of those actors, sites, and processes that are created by any specific agreement, which have the potential to reinforce or reorient the global political order. Participant observation and ethnography allows us to collect data on-site and analyze the behavior of state and non-state actors seeking to either maintain or contest the status quo governing the oceans. A 6-year study we conducted on the BBNJ negotiation process mentioned earlier revealed that negotiations have been afflicted bipolarization between two UNCLOS principles, the freedom of the high seas and the common heritage of humankind. Instead of discussing the common heritage principle from a purely legal perspective, we examined through an ethnographic lens how it has become a practice of contestation. It was used by governments of the Global South as a tool and negotiation technique to challenge deeply rooted inequalities in the current world order. They argued that biodiversity should be treated like minerals in the seabed, and that economic benefits resulting from its utilization, for instance, when marine genetic resources are commercialized by the pharmaceutical industry, should be shared between different states. State actors from the global north were against the inclusion of the concept, arguing that it might have a negative impact on ocean science. It was argued that it may lead to an over-bureaucratization of research on the high seas, thus disincentivizing investments in related technologies and infrastructures. As an emerging field within international relations and political science, ocean protection covers more than the set of international environmental rules and agreements established by states to protect the marine environment within and beyond national jurisdiction. Ocean protection is inherently political and shaped by deeply rooted inequalities between states regarding their economic, scientific, and technical capacity to explore and exploit the ocean. Studying related conflicts from the perspective of agreement making allows political scientists to analyze the new sets and arrangements of actors, sites, and processes that are created by any specific agreement, which have the potential to reinforce or reorient the global political order. The case of marine biodiversity illustrates the difficulty of governing resources that do not fall under sovereign national jurisdiction, and the need for new regulations and institutional arrangements that political scientists can help critically assess and develop to support a transition towards more sustainable ocean futures.